Hello, and thanks for joining me on this personal journey of living with fibromyalgia. And if you're coming across my video for the very first time on my YouTube channel, my name is Chico Matenda, and mainly I talk about lifestyle business matters, digital marketing, anything that's social media related and in the digital marketing realm. And then I also talk about mindset matters, with an additional attributed factor of living with fibromyalgia. So that's what I'm focusing on today, and just basing it on my experience. So the people who are connecting with me, you're either curious or you're living with fibromyalgia, or you just don't know what fibromyalgia is. So do look for my videos on this timeline somewhere. You learn a little bit more about fibromyalgia if you don't know what it is. So I wanted to share my experience yesterday. Yesterday, I went to, most of us with fibromyalgia, which is like a chronic musculoskeletal widespread pain condition, if I can say correctly. I went to see my physiotherapist yesterday, and my source of physiotherapy in my local community, I couldn't find what I needed. So I did a lot of research online to find suitable integrated medical care, because I didn't want to be running all over the place. I just wanted to have a place where I could go where there were specialists in one area. But what that meant was that I had to travel, and I travel like 2 or 3 hours away. So for a fibro warrior or a fibromyalgia, you might experience what I experience, where every day you're counting your spoons, and also it's a mind over matter life experience where it's like you're pushing through every day more than before. So for, I would say, 5 weeks now, I've been experiencing brain fog, excluding 1 week period where I traveled to Portugal. When I traveled there, it was a warmer climate. So my experience was my brain fog cleared, but then the physical pain, I had to endure that because of lots of walking, which meant I became exhausted and back and forth. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be in my mind, because I had the worst experience in the beginning. I've always pictured that if I push myself too much, then it's going to be at the extreme end where I'm going to get a full blown out flare. So part of me has been fearful. But fortunately, it hasn't been a full out, blown out flare, because I've slowed my life down significantly. Where I made a decision to also leave my job, and I've spoken about that before. And also I'm mindful of what I'm doing. So even though like I was walking more than I usually do, I knew that within that week period, that's all I could sustain. I couldn't keep going for more than a week. That's as much as I could sustain and enjoy that experience. Had it been 2 weeks, I don't know what could have happened. So within that, yes, I walked, but then I was also mindful that when it needed time, when there was time for a break, I could take a break. So those are the skills that I've learned as a result of being like I had to go into a class. Not I had to, but I made a choice that for like 1 year period, I learned how to live with this condition, because I have the mindset that I need to be like on the go, because it's what I was used to. But only with fibromyalgia, you can't do that. So yesterday, I was counting my spoons. Fortunately, I made it to my appointment, because with the minimal or lack of sleep that I've been getting with brain fog and also insomnia, it means that sometimes I miss the day or I miss specific social activities. But it doesn't mean that in terms of what I'm doing in the background that I stop doing that in terms of like social media marketing. I still am able to do that, but it just means that I operate on a different time. I engage in a different time, where, as an exaggerated example, I might be ready to go clubbing when everybody else is asleep. Only that I wouldn't be clubbing in reality. Okay, so that's what it feels like, because some days I'm up like at 3 or 4 a.m. and I'm like, where's everybody? I'm fully wide awake, but I know that the majority of the population or my friends are not actually awake. So when people are ready and enthusiastic to go out, I'm actually sometimes really fast asleep. So yesterday I traveled for 2 to 3 hours. So 2 to 3 hours meant counting my spoons. So counting my spoons, it just means how many spoons somebody with like fibromyalgia and a chronic illness as mine, you are literally using your spoons, which can be like 12 plus 2, 12, and that means that you're maximizing on your energy. You're depleting your energy. That's a better way to say it. You're depleting your energy as you go along. It was rainy when I started off, so that meant that my body was weak, and especially my legs, because of the rain and because of like the dampness. It affects me in that way. I don't know if it's your same experience that you experience living with fibromyalgia. I know most people do. And it's similar to, because my aunt has arthritis, so she gets impacted by the weather. And that's what doctors thought I had at first, but it's not exactly that. So I felt lethargic, I felt weak, and climbing upstairs, it's a mind over matter. It feels like you're going to be walking up a mountain. And so when you're feeling like that, your mind is mentally saying you can't really climb those stairs. I did, but I didn't do it as fast as I could. I could have, like I would have done in the past. Then commuting, changing trains, walking up the stairs, walking up to get to the appointment. Those are spoons being depleted as I go along. And I have to be mindful to rest as well. So because I had minimal sleep for 3 weeks, it's interrupted sleep. It's not something new, but I think I'm at the stage where I'm at the edge, because sometimes I have been able to get out of it. I was going to use the word snap out of it. Yes, I have been able to come the other way around and be able to go from having insomnia to being okay, to just having like chronic fatigue. With brain fog, it's the worst. And most people say that as well, people who experience this. It's worse than, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. It's worse than chronic pain, because brain fog affects your thinking patterns. It affects your concentration levels. So add brain fog to with insomnia. Yesterday I felt like I was having moments where I was spacing out. I couldn't concentrate, and I had like this heavy weight on my head, that any type of extra activity beyond the physiotherapy appointment was just asking too much. I wanted to do additional activities, but I couldn't. Even going to like an art gallery, I knew that physically that would take additional work. And then on top of that, physically, mentally, I had to be present to enjoy the activity, and that wasn't happening. And I think this is a next level of something that I haven't felt before, because I have been like on a marathon, which is starting to slow down a little bit, but I'm not out of it. So what I mean by our marathon is that this is the longest time I've been in an insomnia brain fog phase. And yesterday, when the physiotherapy started asking me about how have I been, and asking me to describe my experience, I took a breath and I became emotional. So I think the reason for that, it's been a build up, because I've been on the go in terms of saying I need to remain motivated, I need to remain positive regardless of what my experience is. I need to be showing up still. But then even the strongest of people, it gets to a point where you feel like I need to get out of this. It seems so easy, but medically it's not. So you're fighting between the two, where mentally you want to be able to physically will whatever is happening to come out of it. And as a person, you also feel like mentally you're this astute intellectual being that can do so much and give so much. It's difficult for other people to comprehend. But why? So you ask yourself all these questions, but it depletes the whole purpose because you're still stuck in that way of being. So it's a back and back process. But ultimately, even though that I cried, I didn't feel bad about it because I feel like it needed to happen. And I also have learned, because I am the oldest in my family, I've always carried this thing of being strong, and other people have perceived me as a strong personality. I've learned over time through like existentialism, psychotherapy, my own studies, and other people, coaching other people, being there for other people, and other people being there for me, that letting go is okay. And I'll add in what I saw on social media yesterday. I saw PDD or Puff Daddy, I don't know what he calls himself nowadays, or Sean Puffy Combs, I don't know. He put a statement that, and you can go and watch it. He put a statement that he cried. He cried. I don't know whether it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And I thought, thank you for being authentic. And somebody else put up a post as well. Tiffany Haddish. She said something yesterday that she made a comment, I don't know where, that she cried, but then the media blew it up as though she had some issue, historical issue. So Tiffany Haddish, if you don't know who she is, she's a comedian and also an actress. So it gets exaggerated, it gets blown over that if you cry, you express your emotions, then you then become classified as somebody who's weak. Let me turn on my light. Or people perceive you as, okay, you're a strong personality. That's what I've always been perceived. So they don't know how to deal with that. So for me, often when I speak about my emotions or my feelings, either people go silent, they don't say anything, they don't have a comeback because they're not used to it. And I've had to be okay with that. I've had to adapt to, as long as I'm able to express myself and let go, that is okay. I don't need an acknowledgement from somebody else to say this is okay, or even still it surprises me. But in my core, I've had to become okay with that, because if you depend too much on other people to validate and acknowledge, you end up waiting for a long time. So it's about building self to become okay. Okay, so with the battle with fibromyalgia, it's on another level. It's on the deepest. So the strongest of the warriors, you sometimes get defeated. And I try not to stay in the defeatist mode for too long, because I know where it can take me. I know that it can take me deeper to a place where I won't be able to come back up. So what I mean by that is I am mindful of the help that I need. So yesterday I said to the physiotherapist, I was just like, yeah, honestly, I'm at the level where I need a sleep clinic or something like that. So if you're in this position, being able to speak out about your experience is most important, so that when you need it, you can get the help that you need. It's not about being strong, because definitely fibromyalgia, although we are warriors, the medical input is also a good backup support system. And if you don't have that, it's also about accessing whatever free resources there are in your community, even if it just means talking to somebody who's open-minded, who can listen to you, just talk, and they are just there to support and to listen, and they don't need to fully understand your experience, and that is okay. So also what I've learned on this journey is about, and I've never accepted this when people say be strong or be whatever. I also don't believe in that. I believe being strong silences certain things. It stops you from actually articulating your experience or from embracing it. So if you're going through bereavement, if you're going through pain, it is okay to embrace it, to go through the experience and to acknowledge that it's going to be a passing moment. It's not there to remain forever, although it may feel like that. Okay, so I'm also mindful that when I go through these experiences, like when I was going through or I'm still going through like the insomnia, that is an experience that I'll learn from. It'll raise some form of like awareness for me. It'll make me a stronger person, not necessarily that I don't cry or I'm not vulnerable. Stronger person in terms of growth in my personality, growth in valuing life more and what it means. Because I think when you develop an illness, there's an aspect of living and being human beings that we take for granted. When we are well, when everything is okay with us, we take that for granted. So when you're hit by an illness, it becomes very present and very part of your life 24/7. Like my body, everything about me is fibrous. I'm very aware of every activity from my brain activity, because it's sensory, and also I can't remember the words, so this is fibro memory. You forget the simplest of words, it'll come to mind, but basically it's fibrous, it's energy flowing through your body, that you are aware that you are a human being more than anything else. And you're also very aware of how fragile life is because of everything that's flowing through the body. Although you appear okay, you know that energy wise life can just change like that. So that remains very very present, that the things that I took for granted, like waking up, being able to walk, being able to run, being able to think on my feet, those are things that I value more now, because I'm not able to do them as easily, because my body and my mind reminds me every single day that I am not well. So you have to get beyond this thing about not being well and still fight through it. So you wake up one day, you're well, and then the next day you're not well, but there's a build up to that. It doesn't just happen overnight. So you have to live with this reality that, and I think that's where the tears were coming from, that this is now my reality. 2 to 3 years in of living with this has now become my reality. And as much as you want to embrace it, there's still something in your brain, although it's not as heightened as it used to be before for me. There's still something in your brain that says, can I be okay now? Can this be over? Can we get back to whatever normal is or what it used to be? So sometimes that comes to mind, but then I have to let go of that. There's nothing wrong with having the awareness. I have to come to the acceptance, although there's still been some people who've said, oh, through spiritual healing, through taking this and that. This is my advice to you. We all have, it's good to take in everything, but don't feel guilt over it, that you're not where you need to be, because other people have expectations for you of where you need to be. But I believe that in terms of the healing process, healing doesn't mean curing something, or it might mean that, but you will reach your own stage, at your own stage, when you will start to take in things and start to go on your journey of learning what you have, or your journey of coming to acceptance with what you have. And other people want you to speed through all of that. They want you to speed through all of that and just say, take this thing and you'll be okay, or take this healing power and you'll be okay. Then you might start being hard with yourself. So I had to go through all of that, silence some of the things that I was hearing, and just go through learning. Okay, so I've gone through my grieving, I've gone through my crying, I've gone through the whys, I've gone through the guilt, although I still feel a little bit of it. But what has happened is the awareness, the alertness to the emotional ups and downs, that I'm able to get myself out of it and to continue fighting. Okay, so that's where, if anything, is what I would recommend for you, is to go through the journey, through support as much as possible from the specialists. although not everybody is 100% a specialist, why I'm laughing at this is that it's a tough journey to find the right people, specialists. And I'm using quotation marks because they are far in between. So you will go to numerous professionals and not everybody will know how to manage the support. But when you do find the right people, they will challenge you in the right way. In the right way is to come to acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean forever. Acceptance means that you're acknowledging what is happening, the impact of it, and you're learning how to live with it so that you can learn the mechanisms of what are the right things for me to be doing on a day-to-day basis that will help me. You know, even if you're consuming outside information, but it's only us who know what works, what's best for us ultimately. You know, you make a choice on what you take in and not take in, and not force it upon yourself. Because when you force it upon yourself, then it makes the journey much harder. So my physiotherapist just today, she was like, what did she say? Oh, she said something along the lines about exercising every day or regularly. Then I started laughing, and then she knew why I was laughing, because with fibromyalgia, that's another. It's not like when you're okay, because I know what it used to be when I was okay. When I was okay, it was the mental aspect of, oh, I don't feel like it because such and such. But when you're ill, it's on another level. It's on another level because physically you don't feel well, mentally you don't feel well. So when she said that, she knew, because she supports so many other people. So she said fortnightly to do this specific activity that I want to be able to do at home. Then after that, then I joined a class. So one of the things that I